Amy Fleming stood in the middle of the ranch, her hands trembling as she placed a letter on the kitchen table. No one knew she was leaving. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. It wasn't a dramatic exit. It was worse. It was quiet, cold, and final. Her horse was already saddled. Her bags were already packed. And by the time the sun rose over Heartland, Amy was gone. Amy had always been the heart of Heartland. For years, she held everything together, even when it felt like her own heart was breaking. Since Ty's death, she had tried to be strong. For her daughter, for Jack, for Lou, for everyone but herself. But that strength had limits. It didn't break all at once. It broke slowly, day by day, night by night. She smiled for Lindy, worked with the horses, and pretended like she was okay. But inside, she was still searching for the pieces of the life she lost. People at Heartland thought she was healing. They believed time had softened the pain. But what they didn't see were the long nights Amy spent sitting by Ty's old chair. They didn't know she still talked to his picture every morning, or that sometimes, when she worked with troubled horses, she thought she saw Ty standing beside her, guiding her hands like he used to. These moments weren't memories. They were reminders that her soul was stuck somewhere between the past and the present. The turning point came quietly. It wasn't a fight, or an argument, or even a breakdown. It was a moment at the breakfast table when Lindy asked, "Mommy, are you happy?" And Amy couldn't answer, because she didn't know anymore. She had lived so long being strong for others that she forgot what it felt like to be free, to be Amy, not just a mother, or a daughter, or a widow. That question, so small and innocent, opened a door inside her. A door she didn't even know existed, and behind it was one truth. She couldn't stay here, not right now. She left before dawn. She didn't want anyone to stop her. Her note was short. "I need to find myself. Please take care of Lindy. I love you all." Jack found it first. He stood there staring at her words as the house echoed with silence. Lou rushed in behind him, thinking something was wrong with Lindy. But when she saw the note, her legs gave out beneath her. Lindy was still sleeping, unaware her mother was already far away. No one knew where Amy went. She left no trail, no clues. Just the soft memory of her smile and the sound of her boots walking away from the only home she'd ever known. Jack Bartlett had seen loss before. He had buried friends, watched dreams fade, and stood strong through more storms than he could count. But nothing prepared him for the weight of Amy's absence. When he found the note, something inside him cracked. He didn't cry. Jack never cried. But he stood still for hours, staring at the spot where Amy's boots used to sit by the door. He kept waiting for the sound of her laugh, the smell of hay on her jacket, the thump of her footsteps on the porch. But all he heard was wind and silence. That kind of silence breaks a man from the inside. Lou was different. She didn't have the strength to hold it in. When she saw the note in Jack's shaking hands, she dropped to her knees. Her little sister, the one she had watched grow up, the one she fought with and cried with, was gone. No warning, no plan, just gone. Lou read the letter over and over, hoping it would somehow change. But the words stayed the same. "I need to find myself." It was clear, it was final, but it also hurt like nothing else. Lou's mind went into overdrive. She blamed herself. Had she pushed Amy too hard to move on? Had she missed the signs? She remembered the quiet moments, Amy staring out the window too long, hugging Lindy a little tighter, falling asleep in the barn. Lou thought Amy was getting stronger. But maybe Amy was just getting better at hiding her pain. And then there was Lindy, sweet, innocent Lindy. She didn't understand at first. "Where's Mommy?" she asked Jack at breakfast, her small voice hopeful. Jack couldn't answer. Lou took a deep breath and told her that Mommy had gone to help some horses far away. Lindy frowned, but she didn't say goodbye. That simple sentence hit harder than anything. Lou pulled her close and whispered that Mommy loved her more than anything. But no matter what Lou said, it didn't make the hurt go away. Heartland itself felt different. The horses were restless. The barns felt colder. Even the air didn't feel right. Amy's touch had always brought calm. Without her, the ranch was just a place made of wood and fences. The soul of Heartland had left with her, and everyone knew it. But even through the pain, life had to go on. Jack fed the horses. Lou helped Lindy get ready for school, but every movement felt heavier. Every smile was forced. And in the back of everyone's mind was the same burning question. Why now? What had Amy seen, felt, or realized that made her walk away from everything she loved? Nobody had answers, only guesses, only heartache. And in that pain, something else began to grow. Doubt. If Amy could leave without a word, could she ever come back? And if she did, would she still be the same Amy they all remembered? Nathan never planned to become part of Heartland's story. He arrived as a helper, someone to lend a hand with horses and heavy work, but nothing more. Yet now, with Amy gone, it was Nathan who stepped into the spaces she left behind. At first, no one noticed. He quietly fixed the broken fence Amy used to patch. He gently calmed the mare that only responded to her touch. He fed the animals before dawn and checked on them after dark. But soon, everyone realized it wasn't just about the chores. Nathan was holding Heartland together. Lou began to see it first. She watched how Nathan carefully knelt beside Lindy and tied her shoes before school, how he sat with her during breakfast and never pretended to replace Amy. He just showed up. No big words, no fake promises. Just presence. Strong, steady presence. For a little girl missing her mother, that meant everything, but not everyone was comfortable. Jack kept his eyes on Nathan. It wasn't suspicion, it was fear. Fear that Amy's absence was being quietly filled, that the ranch, the family, even Lindy might slowly start accepting someone new where Amy once stood. Jack loved Nathan like a friend, but he couldn't ignore the ache in his gut. Amy and Ty's love was sacred. Was this new chapter even right? The townspeople began to whisper. Some said Nathan was too comfortable in Amy's place. Others believed he was just trying to help. A few even suggested what others feared to say out loud. Maybe Amy's not coming back. Maybe Nathan is the future now. And then came the moment that changed everything. It was just after sunset. Lou found Nathan in the barn, brushing a restless horse. Her voice cracked when she said, "You don't have to do all this alone." Nathan turned to her with tired eyes and said, "Neither do you." There was silence. Something shifted between them in that moment, not loud, not fast, but real. A closeness neither of them had expected or knew what to do with. Lindy ran into the barn soon after and leapt into Nathan's arms. She whispered, "I miss Mommy." Nathan held her and nodded. "Me too." Lou watched, and something deep inside her moved. Was this comfort? Was this healing? Or was it something she wasn't ready to name? That night, Jack sat alone on the porch. He watched Nathan walk Lindy back to the house, one hand on her shoulder, the other carrying her school bag. He lit his pipe and muttered, "You're a good man, Nathan, but don't try to replace what can't be replaced." The truth was clear. Nathan had become more than just a helper. He was part of their world now. Whether that world still had space for Amy or not remained the painful question. It began with a phone call. Lou was sorting bills in the kitchen late at night when her phone rang. An unknown number, no caller ID. She hesitated, then picked up. Nothing. Just silence. Not static, not a hang-up. Silence, like someone was there, listening, breathing. Then a faint click. Lou stood frozen, heart racing. She redialed, but the number didn't exist. She brushed it off at first. Just a glitch, she thought. But that was only the beginning. The next morning, Jack found something odd in the barn. Amy's journal, tucked under the saddle bench where Ty used to keep his old tools. It was weather-worn, like it had been carried for weeks, maybe months, then suddenly returned. The pages were filled with scribbled thoughts, sketches of horses, and something more. Dreams. One page in particular stopped Jack cold. Amy had written, "I saw him again. His eyes, His voice. It felt real. Not memory. Presence. Jack read the line twice. The handwriting was shaky, but the feeling was strong. Amy wasn't just grieving. She was searching. Later that day, Lou walked into Amy's room to find an old photo of Ty placed on the pillow. Not in a frame, just loose. It hadn't been there the day before. Jack hadn't touched it. Lindy didn't even go in the room. And Lou remembered clearly. She had put that photo in a drawer after Amy left. So how did it end up right back where Amy used to sleep? She showed it to Jack. His hands trembled. "Someone's trying to tell us something," he said, barely above a whisper. The theories started swirling. Could Amy be following some trail? Something she never told them about? Had she come across information, a rumor, a story, that Ty might not be gone after all? Lou tried to stay logical, but her heart betrayed her. "What if she found hope?" she asked Jack. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The fear and hope in his eyes said everything. Lou dug deeper. She retraced Amy's last few weeks before leaving. She found receipts for gas stations 2 towns over. She found a horse care manual with scribbles in the margin. Saw the same scar on his hand. It can't be him. But what if? Lou started to wonder. Was Amy chasing a shadow? Was Amy chasing a shadow, or chasing the truth? Then another call came. This time it was a voicemail. No voice, no words, just the soft whinny of a horse. Not any horse. Spartan. Amy's horse. It was unmistakable. Lou rushed to the barn. Spartan was there. Safe. But when she leaned close, she saw something in his mane. A single feather tied with twine, just like Ty used to leave when he and Amy would go on quiet rides. It was their secret. No one else knew. Was it a sign? Was it Amy reaching out? Or someone else entirely? At Heartland, hope is a fragile thing. It grows wild, like grass after fire. And now, that hope had taken root again. But this time, it wasn't just about Amy coming back. It was about something even more impossible. Could Ty be alive? Or was Amy losing herself trying to find a man who existed only in her memory? Far beyond the borders of Hudson, past the snowy trails and deep pine woods, Amy rode into a place no one from Heartland had ever heard of, a mountain town so small it barely had a name. No cell service, no roads marked on GPS, just dirt tracks, cold air, and quiet voices. But that's exactly what Amy wanted, to disappear, to listen to herself again, to feel something real, without everyone watching her, expecting her to be strong. She found work at a rundown stable on the edge of the town. The horses there were wild, scared, and broken, just like she felt inside. The owner was a quiet woman in her 60s who never asked questions. She just watched Amy work and gave her space. In return, Amy poured herself into the horses, whispering to them the way she used to with Spartan. But at night, when the barns were dark, Amy wrote letters she never sent. Letters to Lindy, to Jack, to Lou, and most of all, to Ty. One letter read, "If you're out there somehow, I want you to know. I still hear your voice when I work with the horses. I still see your smile when I wake up from a dream. I'm not looking for proof. I just want to know if I've completely lost myself, or if this is the only way I can find you again." Then, one afternoon, a stranger arrived at the stable, a man with a limp and a soft voice, asking about helping with the feed. Amy didn't look up right away. When she finally did, her breath caught in her throat, not because he looked like Ty, but because his eyes did. The same intense quiet stare, the same sadness. She stumbled, her heart racing. "Do I know you?" she asked. The man shook his head. "No," he said, "but you remind me of someone I once knew." Amy followed him out later that day, not because she believed it was Ty, but because something deep inside her whispered, "Don't let this go." The man disappeared into the forest trail. She never saw him again, but the feeling didn't fade. In town, an old woman later told her, "Some people come here to hide, others come here to be found." That night, Amy looked up at the stars and cried for the first time in months, not out of sadness, but because she didn't feel lost anymore. For the first time since Ty died, she felt like she was moving towards something, not just away from the pain. And then it happened. Amy was walking back from the stable when a boy ran up to her holding a wooden carving of a horse. "The man told me to give you this," he said. The carving was small, smooth, and on the bottom, one word was etched: always. Amy froze. Her heart slammed in her chest. "Who gave this to you?" The boy shrugged. "He left this morning, said you'd understand." She didn't understand, not fully, but she knew what the word meant. It was what Ty used to whisper to her when the world felt too heavy. Always. Amy clutched the carving to her chest. Maybe she wasn't chasing a ghost. Maybe Ty was gone. But something else was pulling her forward now. Something strong. And it was time to decide whether she'd return home or follow the trail even deeper. The wind on the Heartland porch had changed. It carried a silence that wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, tense, full of things unsaid. Nathan stood outside, hands deep in his coat pockets, staring at the fading horizon. For weeks, he had given everything he had to hold Heartland together. He did it for Jack, for Lou, for Lindy. But mostly, he did it for Amy. And now, he was starting to wonder if he even belonged there at all. Nathan had never meant to get attached. But Lindy had a way of crawling into his heart, asking simple questions like, "Will you read me this?" Or, "Do you think Mommy is happy?" And Lou, strong, stubborn Lou, had slowly started to open up. She didn't cry in front of others, but Nathan saw it in the way she sat too long after dinner, staring into her tea. They were all holding on, and he was becoming the thread that held them. But that thread was fraying. At night, Nathan sat in the barn and thought about Amy. Not as a ghost, not as someone to replace, but as someone who still owned a part of Heartland. He could never touch. He respected that. But it also hurt. Every smile Lindy gave him reminded him that he wasn't her father. Every time Lou said thank you, it felt like goodbye. He began to realize that being needed wasn't the same as being wanted. One evening, Nathan found Jack alone at the corral. They stood there for a long time without speaking. Finally, Nathan asked, "Do you think she's coming back?" Jack didn't look at him. Amy's not the kind to leave without a reason, and she's not the kind to return without one either. Nathan nodded. "Then maybe I should go, before I become something I was never meant to be here." Jack's face didn't move, but his eyes did. Heartland's not about filling holes, Nathan. It's about truth. You need to ask yourself, why are you really here? Because if it's just for Amy, then maybe it's time. But if it's for yourself, well, then you better fight like hell to stay. Those words echoed in Nathan's chest for days. He started to pull back, skipped chores, missed dinner. He even left the barn early, something he never did. Lou noticed. She cornered him in the feed room one night and asked, "What's going on?" Nathan looked at her and said the hardest thing he'd ever had to say. "I think I've reached my edge, Lou. I can't keep being everything for everyone. I need to know where I stand, or I need to go." Lou's face tightened. "You don't have to go, but I won't lie to you either. If you're staying because you think Amy won't come back, that's not fair to her, or to you." He nodded. "I know." Lindy came running in moments later, holding a picture she had drawn. It was the ranch, the barn, the family, and in the corner, Nathan. "You live here now," she said, smiling. He took the picture and felt tears sting his eyes. That night, Nathan packed a bag, but left it by the door. He wasn't ready to leave. Not yet, but he wasn't sure if he should stay either. And as the wind shifted again, there was one final question hanging in the air. When Amy returns, will there still be space for him? Or was he always just a shadow waiting to fade? The sun was just beginning to rise when Lindy looked out the window and gasped. "Mommy?" she whispered. Her tiny hands pressed against the cold glass. Outside, a figure on horseback was slowly approaching from the tree line, dust rising, Behind them, the morning light framing them in gold. Lou rushed over, her heart thudding so loudly she could barely hear her own breath. Jack followed, moving slower, as if afraid the moment might break if he stepped too hard. It was Amy. Her face was worn, her eyes deeper, quieter, but there was a peace in her that hadn't been there before. She dismounted silently, placed her hand on Spartan's neck, and looked at the house. She didn't smile, she didn't wave, she just stood there, for a long time, like someone who had finally come home after walking through a storm no one else could see. Lindy burst through. The door first. Amy knelt, catching her daughter in a trembling hug, whispering over and over, "I missed you. I missed you." Lou and Jack stayed back, tears in their eyes, letting the moment belong to them. It was sacred. Nathan stood just beyond the barn. He didn't step forward. He didn't speak. He only watched. Part of him wanted to run to her. Another part whispered, "This is not your moment." And he knew it. The way Amy held Lindy, the way she touched the porch railing like it held every memory she left behind. She was back, but she had changed. Something in her had been made whole again, though no one yet knew what it was. That evening, Amy sat quietly with Jack on the porch. He didn't ask where she'd been. He only said, "Did you find what you needed?" She nodded once, eyes glistening. "Not what I needed," she said. "What I lost." Lou found Nathan in the barn hours later. "She's back," she said quietly. "I know," Nathan replied. His voice was steady but distant. "You should talk to her." "I will," he said. But he didn't move. The final scene unfolded at dusk. Amy tucked Lindy into bed, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. As she stepped into the hallway, Lindy called out, "Mommy, I saw someone in the trees today. He looked like Daddy." Amy stopped. Her breath caught. Lou heard it too, from down the hall. Jack sat outside, puffing on his pipe, eyes fixed on the edge of the woods. A silhouette moved through the trees, tall, familiar. Then it was gone. The camera lingers on Amy's face, haunted but calm, as she slowly whispers one word. "Ty." The screen fades to black. No answers, only silence, only questions. Has Ty returned? Was he ever truly gone? And if not, what will that mean for Amy, Nathan, and Heartland's future?